Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to this week's chapter review. Before we continue, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. Let's get to 700 subscribers. I hope we can end the year with 1K. It is so satisfying seeing Shidou being this happy. In the story, Shidou is consistently seen as an outcast, an outlier, someone who lives in a different world than the others. Someone that nobody seems to understand. He was always forced to create miracles out of nothing due to the lack of chemistry and understanding with his teammates. Shidou has been fighting as a single unit within a system for this whole time in Blue Lock, and the fact that he actually managed to be Blue Lock number 2 ahead of the U20 game was an impressive feat in retrospect. The authors used the U20 game to remind us, in case that wasn't already clear enough, that a good midfielder makes any decent striker shine brighter. As such, Itoshi Sae and Shidou completely dominated Blue Lock 11. Itoshi Sae's game reading sense allowed him to understand Shidou's quirks. He perfectly understood the Pink Demon's game sensitivity and soccer style, thus allowing our boy genius to challenge Shidou consistently. In essence, all Itoshi Sae did was grasp what Shidou could do, allowing him to send passes so that Shidou would be forced to level up on the spot, thus allowing Blue Lock's Pink Demon to evolve consistently throughout the game. It is a common consensus that had Shidou started that game, he would have had a hat-trick at the very least. In short, Sae always matched Shidou's football visions by sending passes aimed at spots Sae knew Shidou would go for, and never had we had a scenario where Sae had to push his vision onto Shidou. This thought is scary because it means that there's a whole lot of Itoshi Sae we have yet to see, which brings us to my next point. In the Ubers game, we saw another example of a good midfielder allowing a proper striker to shine even brighter. By clashing their winning visions, Isagi and Hiori scored a super goal. That goal had nothing to do with the play where Isagi cooked both Aiku and Lorenzo, and the reason is quite simple. I explained it so well in this video, analyzing every play at the game's end against Ubers. In this play, Hiori had an idea of what Isagi could do. Use the right foot, for example, as a bait and go for the lefty shot to score. Hiori sent a pass, allowing Isagi to realize that vision. That was a brilliant play. I will even go and say that was Isagi's best performance. But it was akin to what Sae and Shidou did in the U20 game. A midfielder sending passes perfectly tailored to the striker's abilities. At the end of the game, however, Isagi had in mind to use Hiori's shot as a feint to create a blind spot on the field, as most defenders' attention would be on Hiori, thus producing a momentary blind spot. Even if Isagi did stop so that Hiori could understand the overall idea, they never even once discussed beforehand what that blind spot could be. They both trusted that they will see the same future when push came to shove. It is a step beyond what Sae and Shidou did in the U20 game, and beyond that play we mentioned earlier. This last goal wasn't solely predicated on making a pass to maximize Isagi's abilities. Instead, it was a play based on two players seeing the field at the same level, each using their skills to make that vision come true. Hiori could have used step-overs, feints, and any other skills. For all Isagi cared, Isagi expected the ball in that blind spot. Similarly, Isagi could have used any other tricks up his sleeves, but he had to make sure to move so that he would be free in the blind spot. In a nutshell, it's like Isagi telling Hiori, hey, do whatever you gotta do, but I'm waiting for the ball there. And Hiori telling him at the same time, I don't care how you do it, idiot, but make sure to be there because I'm sending that pass there. Mind you, the there doesn't even exist when they are talking. That spot they are talking about, it doesn't even exist yet at the moment they are talking. It will be revealed as the play unfolds, while each player tries his best. Do you pick what I'm saying? This play was indeed like pure madness, But again, like those who watch professional football regularly often see such plays from elite players, right? Hiori and Isagi did an excellent job at refreshing some concept for us. The hunger within each individual provides hints that allow said individual to formulate an achievable goal according to the individual's reality. It's like what Isagi said to the monk, right? Your reality, including your hunger, gives you a unique goal that becomes your ego. Having a solid sense of protagonist allows one to fully immerse himself in that challenge, which then leads one to flow. Flow is that state where an individual is at his peak performance. This means that for someone to output his absolute best, that person has to be in a flow state. However, some people can perform at a high level and never reach flow. Some people may consistently tap into flow, but still pale compared to other players. There are simply levels to this. As an example, Igarashi's peak performance in the flow state could still pale compared to Kaiser's regular performance when he isn't even in flow. Now, more than being in flow is needed, as there are still obstacles to achieving the goal one has set for himself. For that goal to become a reality, whether through many milestones or a big one, a specific context should be created to make that reality come true. Creating that scenario either by changing the environment around you or by adapting to it allows someone already in flow to reach his peak performance. Note that the peak performance here is both mental and technical. When the level of a game is high, some goals can only be scored by intersecting many players' best performances. This is the highest level of chemical reaction we have seen in the story so far regarding our Blue Lock boys. That same level is what Loki refers to as a simple chemical reaction. This shows that for pros, this is the standard, and this also implies that there is level above that, right? However, the absolute best performance a player can showcase can only be created if a player has maxed out all his stats at any given point in time, and if the player has immersed himself in a suitable challenge. There are levels to best performances, but the absolute best is the absolute best performance a player can do. This is why I might invest in Isagi scoring a hat-trick. That's a theory made by Spiritual Art on Reddit. Isagi might drop his absolute best performance during this game. Like, I mean, the best Isagi we have ever seen and we might ever see for a long time. The goal scored by Baru in the U20 game is a perfect example of what we just discussed about best performances, right? You can apply the same logic to Kaiser's goal against Ubers, which was only possible due to Kaiser immersing himself in the challenge of eating off Isagi's scraps, which intersected with Isagi's attempt to make the most out of the situation. Doing so allowed Kaiser to react to that pass headed to Yukimiya. Kaiser's supreme skills did the rest. That was without a doubt Kaiser's and Isagi's best performances within that context. Now, this wasn't close to what Kaiser could potentially do, as the goal he had set for himself was so far compared to what he could realistically aim for, right? So we have yet to see Kaiser's absolute best performance or anything near that level. And it's ridiculous given how Kaiser has been scoring off nearly impossible shots so far. The same logic applies to Nagi's goals against Bastard München. Ryo sends a pass, forcing Nagi to challenge Isagi, knowing that Nagi's goal is to crush Isagi. The issue with Nagi was that the challenge he set for himself was way too short term, so he could only perform at that incredible high level sometimes. Though it is easy to argue that Nagi was close to his absolute best performance at that point in time. Ryo's performance could have been better. As we all know, he is still too dependent on Nagi. However, if you look at the formula, that goal was two best performances intersecting. One-hit wonders can score such goals and disappear forever, while a real professional can reproduce those. This is why Ryo and Nagi have yet to reach the top of the food chain in Blue Lock, and why Isagi and Hiori as a pair are just proof of what a great mindset coupled with hard work and innate talent and gifts can produce. Don't let the flashiness of Nagi's goal fool you guys. Shidou's goal just now is another good example. Charles, the contrarian, envisioned a spot on the field and tricked everyone into thinking that he would send a pass to Rin. However, the 15-year-old was aiming for his contrarian spot without even ensuring someone could be there beforehand. Shidou, true to himself, always knows where to be in the penalty area. His sense of goal is so strong that he always knows the hottest spots. I said this goal was a step beyond Isagi and Hiori's goal because Hiori and Isagi knew and discussed that they needed to intersect their vision as soon as Hiori was subbed in. Charles and Shidou, however, just followed their vision separately. According to Loki, this goal has awakened something in Charles, resulting from all the experiments Loki has been making with PXG and Charles throughout this Neo Egoist League. Loki's goal is simple. To be the best, he needs someone whose passes will consistently push him harder. At the pro level, Loki is playing with quality midfielders, but he seems to have seen something unique in Charles. It also helps that Charles is a U20 PXG player, which means Loki and Charles may have a chance to play together at the club level and for the French national team. With this, Loki is convinced that he may surpass Noah soon, to which Noah did not even react. What is Cyborg? But I digress. Back to the topic at hand. Loki came to use the Nell as a training ground to experiment with Charles by making him cooperate or play against top strikers. Loki struck gold as Rin and Shidou both chose PXG. With these two strikers, Loki has enough material to test Charles. Rin is a player who relies on his impressive IQ and his view of the field to make plays and steal goals, and a horny demon who wants to explode. Two different strikers who require different things from their teammates. So, Loki's strategy was simple. Knowing that Charles had an insane passing and playmaking ability, but lacked synergizing with others, Loki first had to test the waters due to Charles' contrarian nature. In their first game against Ubers, with Rin, Shidou and Karasu on the team, mixed with the other PXG players, including Charles, Loki might have wanted to have a feel for the team chemistry. Rin scored 2 goals and Shidou only scored 1. Loki may have noticed how Rin and Shidou kept getting in each other's way and started to design a system to make the best use of each one's abilities separately. So Loki wanted to create a system that favors each striker, which explains why Loki swapped players during PXG's next game against Manshine City. As the game ends, we see that Nanase, Zantetsu and Tokimitsu are on the pitch, while Karasu and Shidou are not shown, although they both had an increase in their beats, which means they played. That game served as another trial run and allowed Loki to know which players link up best with Rin and who may have a feel for Shidou's quirks. I also suspect that as Charles was still developing, being a prodigy, it makes sense that it was easier for Charles to play rationally or to link up with the vision of others, which may explain why Rin could shine this brightly and Shidou couldn't do the same. This is a friendly reminder that Rin is a monster, and his IQ and game sense allow him to make the best out of whoever he plays with. No matter his teammates, Rin will find a way to shine. Shidou, on the other hand, is a one-man army, and only a few people can link up with him. Thus, certain conditions must be met to get the most out of Shidou. This is the only logical explanation I have, as I cannot see Loki specifically instructing Charles to favor Rin over Shidou. And it's not like Charles will do it anyway, he's a contrarian, right? After that game, Loki understood that Rin could play with anyone. Still, Tokimitsu and Nanase were better suited to play with Rin, since Tokimitsu already did in the past, and Nanase had now devoted his life to being Rin's property. At the same time, Karasu and Zantetsu are better used alongside Shidou to maximize his output. The next challenge was to push Charles to link up with both strikers perfectly. I assume Charles' task was to make sure that he could understand Shidou as well as he could understand Rin. This brings us to the game against Bacha, where Charles perfectly links up with both. Charles linked up with them like Sae was linking up with Shidou in the U20 game. That means Charles wasn't pushing his ideas onto them, but rather played to their strength by sending tailored passes to make use of each striker's abilities best and to match up their movements. Shidou scored 2 goals and Rin only 1. Loki's theory was then again proven correct, as Charles is indeed capable of adapting to 2 stellar opposites, albeit while focusing on one striker at a time through one team dynamic, the Rin system and the Shidou system. The final assignment was to go beyond that by linking up with both while simultaneously having both on the pitch. Doing so raises the difficulty to a level hitherto unseen, and Charles and Shidou were the first to go to the next stage. It is a play brought for by 2 players' best performances intersecting. Charles finally played freely, sending his crazy passes and seeing for the first time someone reacts to them. This isn't Charles waiting and watching who does what to send a pass tailored for them. Charles played according to what I want to call his ego. Man sent a pass that could have well meant giving possession back to Bastard München if Shidou wasn't there. Charles is finally awakened. He can now do it all. This is what Loki wanted. Loki gradually raised the difficulty level so that Charles could improve incrementally, but yet tremendously. I really can't wait to see what type of chemical reaction Charles and Rin can create. One sure thing is that Loki used the Neo-Egoist League to speed up Charles' development by putting him in such a harsh environment, allowing the French genius to reach new heights. We will be there.